webinar. First, we'd like to thank all of you for joining us. And the agenda for today is we're going to do some introductions of the folks who are from Blanchard and our guest speaker. So let me take a minute now and introduce Robert Fenikowski, who is the Director of Publishing Technologies for American Media, and Keith Zibelich, the COO of Blanchard Systems, Charles Blanchard, CEO of Blanchard Systems, and Fred Padilla, our CTO. So we're well covered here with everybody from Blanchard, and we're thankful that Robert could join us today. We're going to, so after I do a little bit of an overview of Blanchard Systems and Virtual Publisher, Robert and I are going to spend a few minutes together doing a sort of interview discussion about his experiences with Virtual Publisher. And then Keith Zibelich is going to do a demonstration of Virtual Publisher, and we'll conclude with a Q&A with Robert and members of Blanchard management. Just a couple of little housekeeping things. You'll notice on your screen in the upper left-hand corner, there's a zoom button which will allow you to expand the image on your screen to cover the full screen. You may want to use that so you get full coverage, particularly during the demonstration. And then also, as it relates to the Q&A, there's a tool within the GoToMeeting control panel. That's the little panel that popped up on the right-hand side of your screen, where you can submit questions in writing. And then at the end of the webinar, after the demo, we'll do a Q&A involving Robert and members from Blanchard, and I'll be moderating that as well. So moving right along, just to tell you a little bit about Blanchard Systems, we're a software development and systems integration company. We were founded in 1992, and we're headquartered in New Orleans, Louisiana. We are the North American distributor and a shareholder of Dalim Software. Some of you may be familiar with Dalim. It's a highly automated workflow solution, which is used quite extensively by publishers and publication printers. And as part of our experience of dealing with the publishers and publication printers, we learned a lot about customer-facing solutions and pre-flighting, et cetera. And based on some encouragement from our customers, we developed Send My Ad, and most recently Virtual Publisher. But when we developed these products, we didn't just develop an ad portal or a planning and production portal. We created a technology platform that we could use for a number of different types of applications. So today we're going to focus on Virtual Publisher, which is a magazine planning and production tool for images, ads, and editorial pages. The key elements of the workflow are planning. So with Virtual Publisher as a planning tool, each of your magazines can be planned using Virtual Publisher planning module, allowing all stakeholders to position ads and editorial pages into the final book plan. So it's basically a way of creating a map or a plan of your magazine. We move on to production. So once the book is planned and finalized, it's promoted to Virtual Publisher Production, the second module of Virtual Publisher, to populate the plan with high-resolution images, editorial, and ad materials using the Virtual Publisher InDesign plugin, which we'll talk a little bit more about later. Then from there we go to approval, where each stakeholder in the print production process has the ability to approve the final pre-flighted pages, and these pages can be annotated and work items can be assigned. Finally, once everything's approved and editorial and ads are in place, these pages can be automatically delivered to your printer or to a destination of your choice. And as I mentioned, Virtual Publisher and Send My Ad, which is our very successful ad portal, share the same technology platform. Some of the key features of Virtual Publisher are a very easy to use user interface, very much similar to the user interface that a lot of people have experienced using Send My Ad. It can be integrated with ad booking systems, and we've done integrations with MSG, data tracks, and DoubleClick for publishers. It has the ability to manage a multitude of regions and regional editions. We have a InDesign plugin, which is used to import pages from InDesign into the portal for planning and production. A very extensive approval process that allows all the stakeholders to view individual pages and approve them. We also have SWOP certified proofing, which is provided through Dalim Dialog, which is a name that some of you may be familiar with. And we then image, editorial, and ad content pages are merged into final pages. And once they're final, there's automatic delivery to the location of your choice. Key benefits of Virtual Publisher are the centralized control of planning and production for better communication and efficiency, allowing everybody who is involved, each individual stakeholder, to be able to participate in that process, to plan each issue from multiple locations, the ability to control image, editorial, and advertising workflows from one central location, and also because Virtual Publisher is a SaaS, software as a service, there's no hardware or software to purchase and maintain, so the cost of ownership is really quite minimal. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Robert Fenikowski. Robert is the Director of Publishing Technologies at American Media. He's been a long-time Blanchard Systems customer, starting with Dalim software at a variety of different companies where he's worked, and most recently with American Media, where he's not only deployed Dalim software, but also Virtual Publisher and Send My Ad. So, Robert, how are you this afternoon? And thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much, Gary.
You're welcome. I always like this picture of you. Were you like in the basement when you took that picture?
No, in Montreal in the bar. That was
okay.
I just saw it. I would like to go there.
That's even better. That's even better. So, Robert, tell us a little bit about American Media, if you would.
Okay, so American Media is a publisher with leading celebrity and health fitness media titles and brands. Our magazines have combined a total circulation over 7 million, and we reach 60+ million men and women each month. We also own a digital channel, Radar Online, which again reached total 30+ million unique visitors and over 230 million page views a month. We have weekly and monthly titles, as well as now many special interest publications. So this is practically what our company does.
Great. Some of the titles, some of the people who are interested, who are listening, may be interested to know some of the titles that you deal with.
Okay, so we have some tabloids, which is National Enquirer, National Examiner, we have Globe, and also we have the British version of National Enquirer. Some other weekly titles are Country Weekly, which we produce from our office in Nashville, and also we have celebrity titles, which are Star and OK, produced here in New York.
So you mentioned that you have an office in Nashville. How many offices do you have?
We actually did the production from 4 offices. Our main office is here in New York, and this is actually the headquarters in Florida, Boca Raton. But also we had production done from our office in LA, which we recently moved to New York, and we still, like I mentioned, produce our weekly magazine from Nashville.
Great. So you're producing on Virtual Publisher both weekly and monthly titles?
Yes. Right now, we practically finalized our rollout of monthly titles to Virtual Publisher. So right now we have 7 weekly titles, 6 monthly, and 27 special interest publications. So practically we close 2. We have 2 hard live closes a day.
Wow. It keeps you busy, right?
Yep.
So, so when did you first deploy a Virtual Publisher?
The original rollout was in October 2013, and because we have many weeklies, we started with weekly titles. The reason why it was, more predictable. So we started October at the beginning, and we have 30-day rollout to finish all weekly titles in Virtual Publisher.
Great, great. So, what were you using for planning and production prior to adopting Virtual Publisher?
Well, I mean, we did not use anything, any specific solution available on the market. So practically, it was dependent on each production manager or business manager. So it may be in design document, maybe Excel sheet. It was not that organized. It was that one of the reasons why we're looking for something like a Virtual Publisher.
So what was the primary objective, or what were you looking to gain in terms of your production and planning by using Virtual Publisher?
Well, I mean, like I mentioned, the biggest problem for us was first of all time to generate magazine maps. Also, the effort which each production manager had to put to modify those maps, and especially when we're talking about the weekly titles and information being changed, every minute, or even the time when that proper information was delivered. You have to keep in mind that the weekly environment, we have break-ins and situation, all that information can change. So, for us, it was difficult to have very clear overview of what's going to be in the magazine, especially that our weekly magazines are divided to a double story workflow, which means that you may have 2 completely separate stories on each page, and they can be mixed, every couple hours. So that created challenges for us. And additional part, which probably I would like to mention, is that the same time when we were rolling out Virtual Publisher, we were rolling out full automation of our imaging, and based on the metadata and the naming convention. So that had to be synchronized with how the stories are being presented in Virtual Publisher.
Okay, so I'm going to put you on the spot maybe, but you mentioned about saving time in creating maps and modifying those maps. Do you have any feeling for how much time you have you've saved by adopting Virtual Publisher?
I don't have the percentage number, but the response after everybody got accustomed, I consider it as running 3-4 full closes. Is just people completely forgot that there's that was other way. For them, it's just very simple. And one thing I want to mention that the huge win is, of course, being able to create the templates, because to start the new issue, it just takes open the template. You can predefine, we call it the furniture items, which are stories which repeat in magazine books. So this is immediately available. It's a lot less information need to be entered, and this is huge time saving. I mean, some people say that over 50% of time they're spending on a map as a major task. Now it's being removed.
Yeah, so for those of the people listening in who are not familiar with the templates, Keith will be touching on those as part of the demo. But the nice part is that when you open up a template, as Robert says, all the key elements of the issue are already in place, and you can build from there. So, Robert, you've been using Send My Ad. You've been a Send My Ad user for some time, both here and at your previous job. So what's the advantages of using both Send My Ad and Virtual Publisher?
Well, so right now for me, the number one, I mean, of course, originally when I started, I was looking for metadata. I mean, anything what is considered with metadata and I can use it, I can store it, I can call it, it's win for me. So we started with, of course, the ticket, which and all the information being available for us by uploading by advertisers. We create a system, actually automation in Send My Ads to create the ad numbers. We did not use any ad makeup system. So even if we have MSG, that was not used, but at the same time, some of the information which we collect during the Send My Ad upload, now we exchange not only with Virtual Publisher, but also with other systems. So the two key components, in my opinion, were that there's, with Virtual Publisher and Send My Ad as just two sides of the same product, you get instant access to ad information. It's not necessarily the live information in the form of ad material uploads, but also insertion orders or ad reservations. And that's, again, is huge for us because right now for business managers, it's very easy for them just to create those reservations before ad material shows up or is available. And later it's a lot easier to merge or reconcile the information available in the system, because sometimes, of course, there is some inconsistency in the in the data, metadata applied or submitted by advertisers. But this is one part, which is huge benefit for us, and of course managing the regions, versions, and even the visual look of how this thing is presented. Before we had to create 10 different versions of maps. Now, by just sending invites for a business manager to take a look at how the splits look like, how the regions look like, they can just toggle between the the browser view, and that is really huge help for managing and making decisions on ad placement. Another thing, like I mentioned, especially for business managers, the ability to to create tags for specific ads and make the applying the business rules, so the messages will help them with placing the ads far away from competitors, etc. So I think that's what.
Well, thank you, Robert. We appreciate that. So I would just make a comment to everybody listening in that at the end of the webinar this afternoon, we'll be taking questions. So if you have any questions, please fill them out and send them to us using the GoToWebinar control panel. So with that, at this point, I'm going to turn things over to Keith Zibelich and to do a virtual publisher demonstration for you today. Keith?
Great. Thanks, Gary. I appreciate it. Let me go ahead and make myself presenter here. And let me share my screen. Hopefully everyone can see the login screen for Virtual Publisher.
I can.
Perfect. Okay.
At least one of us can.
Yes. Well, thank you, Robert. I appreciate you kind of giving us a good overview on your experience with the product. I'm going to spend probably about 15 or 20 minutes doing a live demo. Then we'll finish up with some Q&A. And again, we'll do a high-level overview of what Virtual Publisher is. And then if anyone has any specific questions or want to circle back maybe and do a more in-depth demo of the product, we're happy to schedule that on a one-on-one basis, and we can dig as deep as you'd like. So starting off kind of covering the high level, that each one of our publishing customers right now have their own unique login. You'll see that we have a branded portal. It's actually my portal, keith.virtualpublisher.com. And this can be completely branded to your look and feel. So the first thing I'm going to do, let's go ahead and log in. I'm going to log in as the admin for my, my virtual publisher account. And once I sign in, the first thing you'll see is that you'll have a dashboard screen that pops up that gives you a really good overview on the current magazine, where you are for that issue and planning. And I'll show you that you can actually sort it by the publication as well as the issue within that publication. And then of course you have the ability to take a look at the status on any one of the regional editions for that issue to see where you are. But the information that's contained within the dashboard are the number of pages, total number of ads, editorials. They'll even give you a very accurate thickness of the book because we track the sizes of your paper as well as the total weight of the book. And then it gives you a planned status on where you are. In this case, we've got 9 pages that are currently planned for this out of 20. And then it gives you a breakdown on your percentage of ad versus editorials. So it's a good little snapshot on where you are currently in the production for not only each one of your publications, but each issue for that publication. Now we're going to spend most of our time today working within the book plan view. But what I do want to show you kind of real quickly, I've already got an issue set up that I'm going to show you our planning portion of our product. Really there are two offerings that we provide. One is virtual publisher planning, and one is virtual publisher production. And I'll show you the planning, and then we'll move into production, and I'll tell you where that line delineates. But I do want to show you how easy, as Robert said, to actually set up a new issue by using templates. So the first thing we're going to do, let's go ahead and click on the issues, and it has a list of all the issues that I currently have. We're going to be working mostly with this June issue that I'm going to show you the planning in. And then I'm going to flip over to this in-process issue where I actually have some real pages. But I want to show you how easy it is to set up a new publication, bringing in all of these items which are actually predefined within a template. So if I click on Add Issue, I have 2 publications in. I'm going to choose the Blanchard magazine. Just name it. We'll make this July 2014. We need to put in some basic dates because the system will actually track these milestones and provide notifications and warnings when these dates are coming due. But if we choose a ship date, so we'll say the ship date here is going to be on the 27th, and then the materials due date, you'll get the idea that we just have to put in where the materials due, a run date for the publication, and then an image deadline date, which unfortunately we won't have time to cover that today, but we have a new offering in an image portal which allows you to submit images into publications to run them through approval cycles as those are being done, but we can cover that at a later date. And then once you choose the information contained for setting up a new issue, I could set this up as just a blank 32-page issue. But as Robert said, the use of our template system is very powerful. So I have some templates that I've set up and saved in the past. I'm just going to choose this print plan template. And when I do that and say Add Issue, you'll see that that new issue is now set up here in July 2014. Now if I click over to the book plan and we choose that issue that I had just set up, what you'll see are all of these different components that came in from that template that I chose. So in this case, I have a cover section that is always regionalized. So we can regionalize pages, ads, inserts, you name it. Any of the components within the publication, we can actually assign a region to that and manage that as multiple files coming in for each one of those regions. You'll see that I also have a blow-in that every month will go between the signature, and I have sections that's set up, even so much so that I have a technology commentary that say that runs every month on page 7. All of these components are what I define within that template that I start with from scratch every month. Now the good thing about this is that although that came in from the template, they still are completely customizable. So let's say that this customer spotlight, for instance, instead of it starting on page 3, we want it to actually start on page 4. If I just grab the ribbon and move it over, it'll actually change the size of that section for me. Same thing with a blow-in. Let's say that it's not going to go within the cover signature and signature 1. Maybe I want that to run in between Sig 1 and Sig 2. All I need to do is drag that guy down to this, and it actually run within that section of the book. Same thing with say page 7. Let's say on page 7, instead of running this editorial, maybe we sold an extra ad. So I want to take that editorial and just drag it into my clipboard all the way over to the right. And you'll see that that editorial shows up here to be used somewhere else in the book, or possibly not used in this publication if we sold lots of ads. Then I have the ability to create the ad and drag it in. So that gives you an idea of how easy it is to actually set up a new issue using our template system. Now, what I'm going to do, in the interest of time, I'm going to flip over to this June issue that I set up. Now, the only difference between the June and July issue is that with this issue, I actually brought in not only the template that I just showed you that I started with, but I've also brought in some ads and editorials that I've started working on. And I want to show you how easy it is to actually work back and forth on setting up your publication. So again, let's pretend like, as I said before, this editorial, let's say that we did sell a full page ad there, and I took that and drug it back into the clipboard. You'll see that I have the ability, let's say, to take a full page ad, for instance, this virtual publisher ad, and I could drag it in to page 7 and have that ad actually run on page 7. Now I'm going to show you how our system works to stop from placing ads within a section or a certain distance from different rules, so I'm going to use that ad in a minute. So let's talk a little bit about the planning process and how it works. So these are all ads that are created. If you can see my clipboard on the right side, you have 2 tabs. You have ads and editorials. You have the ability to reserve an ad space, or to actually sort through or filter through the ads that are currently running in this production or this issue. It's the same with the editorial tab, where we create or reserve an editorial, we create the editorial, and we actually can assign that editorial to a specific person within your organization. But let's do this. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take an editorial. I'm going to go ahead and drag this 2-page editorial into this section. So let's pretend for a moment that we had this editorial that we planned, Embracing the Sea of Change, that's going to run on page 8 and page 9. Now, one of the good things about the system is that we know the exact trim size, bleed size for not only your pages, but also all of these ads that assumably are going to be flowing in from Send My Ad, all pre-flighted and put into our publication. Now, if we set out as, if you recall from what Robert said, where if you're using Send My Ad, you have the ability to actually take this ad and send out a notification to an advertiser. So if I click on that ad just for a moment, it's got all the information for this half-page ad that's going to run. If I scroll down, you'll see that I do have the ability to actually add a contact to this, where I can say that I'm going to assume that I know who the advertiser is for this ad. If I go in and say that it's going to be AdWorks CSR, and I choose that person as the advertiser, what happens is an email notification just went out to that advertiser to say, hey, you agreed to actually run a half-page ad running in this June issue of this publication. All they do is actually click on the link within that email, and they submit their ad directly into the system. And what happens is that ad will flow directly into either the clipboard, or if I took that ad and placed that ad within the folio position, that ad material will flow directly in, high-res there, completely pre-flighted, and it will go directly into the book. So there's no additional intervention that you need to do for pre-flighting or placement of that ad into your book. So let's talk a little bit about the planning. So I have this 2-page editorial on page 8 and 9. I have the ability to take this ad and just start dragging it into the proper folio position, and you'll notice that it actually takes that editorial and it flows the editorial over to page 10. It works the same way if I'm actually taking smaller ads, for instance, this smaller Dalim ad, and drag those ads directly in. All right, let me move this over. And you'll see that as I start dragging these smaller ads directly into where those editorials are, you'll see that that editorial continues to actually flow directly around these ads that are placed. Now, one of the good things about Virtual Publisher is that it works either way. Let's say that instead of having the editorials placed first, I'm going to go ahead and drag this editorial back into my clipboard. And let's say that we know where these ads are going. They're placed within, they're all planned out. Then I could actually take in the reverse order, take my editorial, flow it in, and it actually flows around the ads in reverse. So it works either way, whether you start with editorial first or ads first. Now, one of the things that Robert had mentioned that you may not have picked up on is the ability to use our engine that actually allows you to set these rules and parameters up and make sure that you don't violate the placement rules that you've agreed with for your advertiser. So for instance, if I look at this Blanchard Systems ad and I scroll over in the metadata, you'll see that this ad has a tag that has to go in the first 25% of the book. If I try to place this ad, for instance, right here on page 11, which is 55% of the book, it's going to come up and give me a warning. So it says, cannot drop there because the placement rule you set, it has to be in the first 25% of the book. Now I can actually take that ad now, let's say that I bring it into the inside cover, it will allow me to actually place that ad within the book. Now that is completely modifiable. You can even go in at the last minute and actually click on this ad and remove that tag, which would allow you to put the ad anywhere in the book. But initially, if that ad was sold that way and that metadata tag was attached to that ad, the system will not let you put that ad where it shouldn't be. Now, one of the key things that we have also, not only do we manage it by, for instance, position within the book, but we can also manage your categories of ads so that you don't violate some internal or external rule that you have with an advertiser. If you look at this page 9, this is actually a computer ad that I've created and placed within the book. And I've actually set up a rule within my publication, this issue, is that you cannot put another computer ad within 2 pages of a computer ad. And if I take this other virtual publisher ad and try to drag it into a page 11, you'll see it pops up and gives me that warning that it can't go within 2 pages. And if I click OK, for instance, and I take this, I can actually drag it into, for instance, page 6, and it will allow me to place it since I'm further than two pages away. Now, all of these things that I'm showing you are so easy to modify and manage yourself. Once we have your system set up, we do all of the consulting for getting your parameters set up for pre-flight and for all of the specs within your publications, but then it's completely managed by you. So let me do this. Let me spend just a minute going over the plan details and how those things are set up. And I certainly don't have time today to get mired into all the settings, but I do want to show you how easy it is to manage all the components within your publications. So here are the plan details and the name of the plan that I set up. I can set it up. I can go back and change any of these parameters that I like within the issue. For instance, it lists out all your signatures. You have the ability to add different components. You could add additional signatures. In this case, you could add a gatefold or different components to the book. You can also manage all of your inserts. If you recall, I had two blow-ins associated with it, but we fully support blow-in, bind-in, poly wraps. Whatever it is that you can dream up, we support those types of inserts for your publication. If I click on this first blow-in that I did, it gives me all the information associated with the blow-in. So much so that I could actually regionalize that if I'd like. Sections, so it lists out the current sections I have in the book, Customer Spotlight, Technology, and What's New. Now I can easily add a section or delete sections within my book. Folio labels, which allow you to customize the labels on the bottom of each one of your folio. We set up the cover section. But what I do want to spend a minute or so talking about are really the rules that I set up for those ad placements. So you have ad categories and position tags. And if you recall, what I placed was this computer ad, and here's how easy it is to set up, that I want to enforce a distance rule that it can't be more than 2 pages next to another computer ad. You have very simple to modify it here, or actually go in and add a new category that you name and set up any specific rule you'd like for each one of those types of ads. The other thing are the position tags, where if you recall, I used the first 25%. Very simple to go in and set up new rules, name them, and set up whether it's going to be a percentage, competitive distance, a left-hand, right-hand, page range. You have the ability to go in and modify those and customize it for each one of your publications. And lastly, of course, regionalization. So you set up any of the regions that you have, and you have the ability to go in and manage each one of the components for your book through each one of the regions. All right, let's see, how am I doing on time? I'm running a bit long, so I'm going to try to speed this up just a little bit. Once you're finalized with the creation or the planning of the book, this is where the difference between our virtual publisher planning and virtual publisher production begins. So let's say, pretend like for a moment that this book is completely planned out, I'm happy with it, I want to move it into the production process. If I simply go up and say promote plan to production, and I do that, it comes up and it does give me a little warning saying that you're only 65% planned, but it does give me the ability to promote the plan with the warnings. And once that plan is now promoted to production, I have the ability to submit the high-res pages directly into this issue and then run them through the pre-flight process. And in the case of my demo publication, I can also set up the ability to run them through milestones. So let's do this. I'm going to spend a couple of minutes really kind of just showing you some of the production info with real pages in, so it'll make a little bit more sense. If you recall, this is actually the same template that I was using, same production. It's just the in-process part, and I will show you the finalized part. But if you look at this first page, if you recall, I had that set up regionalized. So I have a cover section which has a newsstand as well as a default version. So if you look at the way that you would manage these two different files or different regions, we have the default edition with no barcode on the bottom. But then if I simply click to this other version, you'll see that I actually put a QR code here on the bottom. So as I said, you have the ability to add additional regionalization for this. You could have 4, 5, 6, or whatever number of pages for each one of either a page or an ad, and we can manage those separately. Now, we don't have a ton of time to go into the workflow and the process of actually submitting files in and actually having them run through the milestones, but we do need to talk a little bit about getting files in and how we manage the approval of those files. If you look at page 2, you'll see that I actually have a little note on this, and the note was, please change the font color to blue. Now if I click on that page, you'll see that I actually have two versions of this page. So I have the original here on the bottom, and then I have the revision 1. So what I did with this file is that I actually looked at it initially when it came in. It was set up on an approval cycle. I put a tag on here to say, please change this font to blue. I rejected that file. That notification would go out to the desktop operator, the person responsible for making that change. So that email notification goes. They make that change, resubmit the file back into the portal, and then me as the editor, I actually get another notice that says, hey, you need to come in and approve that file. So what happened was this file came back with the new blue text, and then I approved the file and completed the file. And I'll give you a little more of a demonstration on that to make sense. Here's one that is kind of in the middle of that process where I have, you'll see it's currently in the rejected phase. And if I click on that file, you'll see that I just put a just read on the top. And as the editor, I said a just read, and then I rejected the file. And then what happens is, again, that notification goes to the internal person responsible for setting that page back in with the change. Now, one of the good things about that whole process is that the revisions come in, we manage them, could be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 revisions across the bottom, but we do manage everything that happens to that file as it runs through the production process. So if I click on the history at the bottom, you'll see it tells me when it was uploaded, who uploaded it, who put any addition to it, the fact that I put a notice on it to make the change. We track all of those changes to each one of these files through the entire process, so there's total accountability for the production. All right, let's talk just for 1 minute about actually getting files into Virtual Publisher. There really are 3 ways to do that. There's a very simple way that you could actually take your planned actions and go in and say simply upload editorial files, and it gives you a very simple little uploader where I can browse for files. I can choose the files. I go to my docs. So you see that I can choose one file, or I can actually choose a range of files and then simply order them properly, or they'll go in this order and just simply say upload files, and it sends those files directly from your browser uploaded directly into the proper folio position in that editorial. We think that's not quite as elegant as my second favorite way. And you could simply actually take a local file on your system. In this case, I have just a high-res PDF sitting in this folder. I can simply drag that high-res PDF directly into folio position 12, and it sends that high-res data directly in, runs it through a full pre-flight process, and that file is in your system. You could grab multiple files at one time and drag them in and load directly in as well. But I think the most elegant way, which unfortunately we don't have time to really discuss today, but we have an InDesign plugin, which allows your current desktop operators, if they're using InDesign, to launch as they're working on a page. It's a two-way communication where when editorials are created within Virtual Publisher, it sends a notification to our InDesign plugin and allows them to choose those editorials, manage out the PDF directly from InDesign, and flows those files directly back into the proper positions based upon what you chose through the InDesign plugin into Virtual Publisher for final approval and final delivery. So what we'll do is if you guys are currently using InDesign, it's something that you'd like to take a deeper dive in, we'd be happy to circle back with you on an individual basis and go through a full demo of that feature. All right, so let's see. You'll notice that the high-res came in. It's already set up, ran through the pre-flight process, and it's completed. So very simple to get those files directly in through drag and drop. All right, let's see. Got one more minute. Let's show you a couple of last little things. Two more features I want to show, really kind of the snapshot plan, where you do have the option to actually create a snapshot of the plan you're currently viewing with the different slug items associated with that plan. I'll show you what one looks like. I've already got one set up. If I go into Manage Snapshots, I can actually click on Download. I can share this snapshot with someone, or I can remove it. But if I click on Download, what you'll see what it does essentially is it takes a quick, creates a PDF version of your current book. So let's say you want to take this PDF into a meeting and mark it up and maybe stick it up on the wall, or however you want to do when you're dealing with a paper workflow within your office. And let's see, the last feature I do want to show is we've also created a magazine viewer, which is basically it's an HTML flip viewer, which allows you to see where you currently are in the production of your magazine. So if I click on View and Magazine Viewer, you'll see it's just a quick little down and dirty flip HTML viewer. So it gives you an idea of how your book's going to lay out in a reader spread. And of course allows you to see if there are any pages that are missing associated with your issue. All right, I think I am right on the time that I've allotted. As you can tell, all I've really clicked on the left side here is the book plan. We have lots of other features within the system that we really don't have time to cover today, and kind of a very high-level overview. But as I've said, we're happy to regroup and go into a more deeper dive with you if you wish. All right, Gary?
That's good. So thank you very much. We appreciate it. Good, it was a good overview. So Robert, I've got a question here for you that has to do with it, because you've been a long-time user of Dalim software, and so it might be worthwhile to just touch on the integration between Virtual Publisher and Dalim and how you're using that.
So we have full-blown ES installation, including Dialog and 2Twist servers, and the reason why we wanted to integrate the systems with Virtual Publishers and MAD is, of course, time. I mentioned those two live closes a day, and another part is, of course, we are over 3 years 100% self-proof, so all the image markup and page markup happens in Dialog. So of course, in this particular case, when you put the solution which deals with the information up front, which is the making the book, the map of the book, and after that delivering the files to that map, That's practically what we did. We put virtual publisher planning in the front for production managers, business managers, and people who just need to deal with the information, how to create and manage the book. And based on that, art directors are being layouts which have to be fully mapped to what's being displayed in the virtual publisher. At this point, we already had the integration with SendMyAd, and I mentioned before all the metadata which is being exchanged between virtual publishers, SendMyAd, and Dalim. It helped us to automate the process through the delivery straight to our Asian vendors, outsourcing companies. Very fast delivery back to us. Just to let you know, our turnaround for weekly magazine on imaging is during the close day 20 minutes. So this thing has to be integrated in the page, has to be delivered from dialogue, run through Twist, and delivered to the mapping virtual publisher and approved. So it was very crucial for us to completely integrate all those systems, and it was not that difficult actually.
Okay. So I know Keith touched on this, but we did get a question about wondering, since you didn't mention it, whether you're using the Adobe plugin, the InDesign plugin.
Yes, we do not use InDesign plugin for one reason. We are still CS4 shop, and there's many reasons for us. Currently, we're trying to figure out what to do with our editorial system. We currently use K4. And, right now, especially, there's so many different solutions and ways of doing business. We're trying to figure out before spending money, should we go with upgrade to K4, should we go with different solutions, or do something else? So for us right now, the way of delivering the files to the virtual publisher flat plan is through automation from, our Twist servers. But sporadically, we also use just, upload directly to the page spot, and we're also working now with some strange gatefolds, which it's a lot easier for us to just upload the asset than just focus on spend time on full integration of with our Twist system.
Okay. Well, that's actually a good segue into one of the questions that we have. From John, which is, my edit group is currently using K4 to manage edit workflow. Is Virtual Publisher a production-centric tool? Do you have experience using files and data from the K4 workflow?
Well, K4 is an editorial tool to collaborate and, of course, assign, specific tasks. There's no difference between this or Woodwing or any other systems. In our particular case, if we were in CS5 environment, it will be very easy for us just to use the plugin here in Virtual Publisher, because like I mentioned, we're still in CS4. Our K4 users, they actually use script, which I worked for them, which practically manages the same functionality what that Virtual Publisher plugin is. It's based on running that script. We create fully automated naming convention, renaming the assets, delivering them to the hot folder for processing, and based on that naming convention, some metadata embedded in it coming from K4 in form even of the InDesign document name. All that stuff is being managed automatically between Twist and Virtual Publisher, so pages land in the proper story which they intended to.
Great, thanks for the answer. If John, and maybe we can circle back later if we can specifically look at how you're implementing K4 in your production environment and answer any specific questions you'd have. I think we've got time for one last question, and it's about email notifications. So, do you have to send an email notification to the advertiser, each advertiser at the time, or can you send one notification to all advertisers in one step? Robert, I don't know if you want to handle that, or I'll pick it up if you'd like. The okay, notification part. Go ahead, Robert.
Yeah. Right now, the nice option actually is ability to disable email notification, because we notify our advertisers on any step when they submit the files. And like I mentioned before, we started with Send My Ad, so most of our ads are already in Send My Ad available while we're doing creating the map. We get the ads even going 2-3 months ahead of time, so they're just sitting in Send My Ad and available anytime you create new issue. Any ad which belongs to that issue immediately is being displayed in the clipboard, so that's very helpful. And we noticed that sometimes especially when you try to merge some ad reservation with the physical ad available in Send My Ad, you would have the information going again, email going again to the advertisers. In this particular case, we just disabled that because advertisers already approved those ads in Send My Ad. But you can work both ways.
And that question was for Dave, and to maybe give you a little bit more information on it. What I showed you was what we call a materials request that goes to the advertiser. As Robert said, you really have several choices. You don't have to use that feature within the software. It's part of Send My Ad. If you are using it, there are a couple of different options. As Gary mentioned earlier, we've actually done an integration with some third-party applications where we ingest all of the information from a third-party ad booking system, and we can send out notifications automatically based upon ingesting that information from your ad booking system. Or you can do them individually. Some of our customers use it in several other ways. That maybe they're actually creating the ad internally. So maybe what they do is they would create the ad internally, submit the ad for pre-flight, and then send a notification to the advertiser just to come in and approve the ad. So there are a lot of different ways that you can use that notification out to the advertiser. It's just how you choose to implement it. And we're happy to talk to you about how you're currently communicating receiving ad materials. All right, Gary. I think we're pretty much we're 5 minutes over time, but hopefully everyone found it interesting.
Well, we'd just like to thank everybody for participating today. I hope you found this worthwhile. As Keith mentioned, we'll be more than happy to do a more in-depth demonstration for you, show you both the planning and production as well as our image workflows. And we'll be following up with you in the course of the next week or so to see if we can set a date to provide you more information. So again, thank you all very much. We'll endeavor to answer the questions that we've received that we couldn't get to today, and we'll again thank you very much, and hopefully talking to you soon. Thank you very much. Look forward to talking to you. Bye-bye.
Great, and thank you, Robert.
Thank you. Robert.
Yes, thank you very much, Robert.
Yeah.
You were a big contribution. Thank you.